Aloha no, I'm Lehua, and this is Small Town Big Art, a placemaking project for Wailuku, Maui. This project is funded by the Maui Historical Society and the Maui Redevelopment Agency under the National Endowment of the Arts, Our Town program. It is coordinated by the Hale Hō Ike at the Bailey House, Maui Historical Society. Originally, these stories were to be told at various sites in Wailuku and followed by storytelling workshops. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we all are asked to stay at home to avoid spreading the virus. So, instead, I thought it would be an idea to record the stories here at my home and share them with you on the internet. Then, we can do the workshops by teleconference. The 5 species of ʻOʻopu found in Hawaiian streams are the only native Hawaiian freshwater fish in the islands, and 4 are found nowhere else in the world. ʻOʻopu nākea, the largest, is found in southern island groups, such as Fiji. The others, ʻOʻopu naniha, ʻOʻopu akupa, ʻOʻopu nopili, and the subject of our story, ʻOʻopu alamo'o, are found only in the swift-running rivers and streams of Hawaii. The larvae hatch in the cool, bubbling headwaters of the streams and travel with the water out to sea, where they become part of the plankton that nurtures our ocean life. When they're big enough, they swim back to their streams to mate and lay eggs, beginning the cycle all over again. All ʻOʻopu, except for akupa, have pelvic fins which have grown together in a suction disc on the belly. They use this to cling to the wet rocks so they can climb upstream. The strongest, highest climbing is ʻOʻopu alamo'o. Alamo'o have an orange or red band around their back half during breeding season, which makes the males look a bit like they are wearing surf shorts. The males are almost 3 inches long and the females are about 2.5 inches long. These little fish are among the best climbers in the world. They climb so well, they've even been found to climb all the way up Hi'ilave waterfall in Waipio Valley. That is almost 1,000 feet. On the island of Maui, they are found in Nawaiʻeha, the 4 famous rivers of Waiheʻe Valley, Waikapu, Waiheʻe, Waiʻehu, and the river of our story, Wailuku. While now the ʻOʻopu is uncommon, with some species suggested as being endangered, they once were abundant in our streams. We can tell by listening to the old sayings. Ka'i'a pā ili kanaka o Waimea, the fish that touches the skin of the people of Waimea, and ai wale I ka hinana, ka'i'a kaulana o ka aina, eat readily of the hinana, the famous fish of the land. Also, it was said, ka'i'a mili ka poho o ka lima, the fish fondled by the palm of the hand. These sayings mean that at one time ʻOʻopu and their young, the hinana, were so abundant that when people swam in the upland streams, the ʻOʻopu and hinana brushed against them. They were so abundant they were caught in nets to be eaten with joy. The ʻOʻopu spawn were so numerous they could simply be picked up in the palm of the hand. ʻOʻopu are considered to be a kind of mo'o, a shape-shifting guardian of its home waters. Indeed, from their hatching to the return home, they change from larvae to plankton to fry and finally fish. And there is something to their guardianship. You can tell how healthy a stream is by how many ʻOʻopu live in it. ʻOʻopu have many things to teach us, and so are found in ʻōlelo mo'eau, wise sayings, mo'olelo, stories told to inform us, and ka'au, stories told to amuse us. In this story, ʻOʻopu alamo'o represents the search for knowledge. I ka ʻOʻopu ai Lehua I ka māpuna. The Lehua eating ʻOʻopu has gone back to the spring, is a saying of those who return to their source. In this telling, the sweetness of the Lehua blossom represents knowledge. Maui's Wailuku River begins at the confluence of the Io and Kinihapai streams and flows out to the sea at Kapohaku. Since long before your parents, your grandparents, or even their grandparents were born, little fish have lived in those waters. The little fish are called ʻOʻopu. At the time of which we are speaking, ʻOʻopu were content to lazily swim about in the quiet eddies of rivers and streams. They nosed through the slime on the bottom, nibbled freshwater mosses from the rocks, and were happy to munch whatever came their way. One, ʻOʻopu Alamo'o, however, was more curious than most. His restless heart longed to see the far banks of the river, to see the things growing on the shore, to find what lay over the rock or around the bend. One sunny day, he noticed lacy shadows on the floor of the stream and looked up to see the beautiful red fringes of the Lehua blossom drifting along, gracefully spinning on the ripples. He swam up and with his tiny mouth delicately nibbled one. It was so sweet. He nibbled another, and it was even sweeter. He began to follow the fringes downstream, nibbling as he went. The other ʻOʻopu noticed he was leaving them. "Ui, Hele, hey, where are you going?" "Oh, I want to follow the beautiful, tasty thing," Alamo'o replied. "Why would you follow that when there is so much nice, tasty slime right here? In the ho'oi, stay here." But Alamo'o flicked his tail and was off chasing the lehua. He swam after it and soon found himself in a different eddy. The fringes were collecting in a lazy swirl. Alamo'o vaguely remembered the spot from when he was a young hinana and swam through it on his way upstream. Indeed, there was still the sweet patch of limu ele growing in the lee of a flat rock. He nibbled it and noted that stronger salt taste meant the ocean tide was coming in. Alamo'o nibbled more of the red lehua fringes, but they were not as sweet as before, and warmed by the sun were no longer so crisp and enticing. He began to wonder where they had come from. The more he wondered, the more he wanted to know. At last he faced upstream and began to swim. ʻOʻopu Alamo'o again looked for the lehua fringes, but this time not to nibble them. He was following them like a path through the water. He passed his old eddy where his friends called out, Alamo'o, ono ka haumia, hele mai ai. Hey, Alamo'o, the slime here is tasty, come eat. Mahalo, a'ole, thank you, no, I must go and find where the red fringes come from. Now, at that time, Alamo'o was bright red, like a lehua blossom, with long, graceful fins that swirled about as he swam. His beautiful tail waved like a hula dancer's hair. His scales flashed iridescent in the sun. Indeed, a sight to behold. As he swam upstream, following the trail of lehua fringes, all the other fish, shrimps, and snails of the stream admired him. But he paid no heed. He was only interested in the sweet lehua fringes. He swam until he came to a shallow place in the river. The waters spread wide and trickled over sand and stones. There was nowhere to swim. The hihibai, the freshwater snails, had lehua fringes clinging to their shells, but ignored the sweetness and beauty. They crawled along the damp rocks and giggled at Alamo'o. Alamo'o, this is no place for a fish. Go home to your eddy. Then they turned their backs on him and resumed eating slime from the rocks. Alamo'o closed his ears to them, and dragged himself across the stones. His beautiful, graceful tail snagged and tore, but he paid no mind. By the time he crossed the shallows, his long tail had been torn away, until only the blackened and bruised stump remained. His long, beautiful fins also were shortened, and the tips remained like fingertips to crawl across the sand. He pushed onward. Eventually, he reached a waterfall. It was not tall, but it was strong. The opai, the little shrimps, encouraged him. Pay attention. Pull your body together, then snap like this. Oh, wait, that might work for a shrimp with a shell, but not for a fish. Mina no, how sad, the crustaceans exclaimed. Try cooking like this. Oh, wait, that might work for a shrimp with many legs, but not for a fish. Facing into the strong waters, he swam. Forcing his way up through the pounding water, his head became bruised and blackened. But at last he was up and over and could rest in the small pond above the falls. More Lehua fringes covered the surface of the pond. Alamo'o nibbled them and felt refreshed. The only beautiful red he had left was wrapped like a pa'u around the back half of his body. But he didn't mind. Again, he pressed on, only to be faced with a waterfall even bigger than the first. This time, instead of trying to copy the ʻōpai, he crept up beside the fall. He used his fins like arms and hands, grabbing the slippery rocks and hanging on. He pushed with his tail, he squirmed and he squiggled. He used his pelvic fins to grab the rocks. He climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed. As he climbed, his pelvic fins grew together into a suction cup. He could hang on to the rocks through the strongest pressure. His lips grew wide and strong, and he could use them to pull himself along while he held on to the rocks. Finally, he was all the way to the top of the falls. He fell exhausted into the cold pool. There was nothing. No Lehua fringes decorated the pool. No crisp sweetness to refresh him. Only the pool of cold, clear water. Then a breeze rippled the surface, and a shadow fell. It was a Lehua fringe. Suddenly, the whole surface of the pond was covered in blossom. They swirled and were swept away by the stream, cascading down the waterfall. All was quiet until another breeze shook the Lehua branches and more fringes fell. Alamo'o was entranced. At last he knew where the Lehua came from and could taste the sweetness at its source. He saw something. At first, he thought he was looking at his reflection, but no, there on the other side of the pond, beside a large flat rock, truly was another ʻOʻopu. She nibbled the short limu a bit before noticing him. I'm ʻOʻopu Alamo'o from downstream. I wanted to see where the red Lehua fringes come from. She looked at him and replied, You're from here. This is their source. They fall from the tree when the wind blows and decorate the pond. Alamo'o asked, Who are you? I also am an ʻOʻopu Alamo'o. I am the mo'o of this pond. I guard it and care for it. I watch when the ʻōpai lay their eggs, and I watch when the Lehua fringes fall. I watch when the rains come and wash the young ʻōpai out to sea. I eat the freshwater limu, and I nibble the Lehua fringes. I want to watch too. Now that Alamo'o had found the source, the restlessness in his heart was quiet, and he felt he had found his home. The two ʻOʻopu Alamo'o spent their days together exploring the pond, enjoying the cool of the shady spots and the warmth of the sunny spots. They nibbled freshwater limu and Lehua fringes together. They laid eggs in the sand between the rocks of the pond. When the next rains came, the hatchlings watched down the stream to Papohaku and to the sea. In their time, the new hinana began to swim up the Wailuku. Like their parents, they had short stumpy tails and fins and were the mottled cover of a bruise. But sometimes they were bright. They wore red pa'u around their waists, and like their parents, they returned to the headwaters of the Wailuku, to a pond near the confluence of the Iau and the Kinihapai streams. This is the story that was told to me on silver nights beside the sea.